This is the Horse Radio Network.
This is episode 1234 of Horse Tip Daily, your almost everyday morsel of helpful hints, useful facts, and practical techniques for horse folks. Brought to you today by EquestrianCollections.com. Greetings, horse people. Coach Jen here, and thanks for tuning in to Horse Tip Daily. Today's tip is an excerpt from the S Equestrian monthly jumping episode on Horses in the Morning. This time, Amanda Flint joins show co-host Emily Thompson with a great ground pole exercise for improving rideability, straightness, and the rider's ability to make quick, smart decisions. And we'll get right to our tip after this from EquestrianCollections.com. When you need to resupply, replace, update, or invest in the stuff that makes your horse life possible, stop by EquestrianCollections.com first. Browse through some 7,000 boot choices from great brands like Ariat, Boggs, Mountain Horse, Ovation, Smoky Mountain, and more. Outfit yourself in the latest and the greatest. And don't forget your horse. EquestrianCollections.com offers some 400 blankets, sheets, and coolers from Buckus, Amigo, and Rambo by Horseware, Hug, Kensington, Triple Crown Custom, and Weatherbeta, just to name a few. Your horse will be warm and dry and stylish this winter. Not sure what type of saddle pad you want? Well, go to Equestrian Collections because they have over 600 different choices. No matter whether you ride English, Western, or bareback around the backyard, EquestrianCollections.com has the most amazing selection of brand name products you are going to find anywhere. So stop by today, EquestrianCollections.com.
We do. We have a real live professional rider here. This is one of our S Equestrian riders, a fantastic Grand Prix rider, Amanda Flint. She has been so kind to share a few minutes with us this morning and provide our training tip, our show jumping training tip. What do you have for us?
One of my new exercises I kind of came up with and I feel like really helps the canter a lot is I do a lot with ground poles, and as you said, I do a lot of young horses. I like to set up 5 poles in a row. The middle 3 are canter bounces, so 9 feet apart. And then between those 3 poles to each other pole, there's 45 feet. So you basically have a short 4, bounce, bounce, short 4, or it can be 3, bounce, bounce, 3, or, 4, bounce, bounce, 3. You can mix it up. I feel like instead of just normally we have 2 poles up and change the striding, the middle bounces really make sure that you have to have the canter correct instead of just getting there with nothing or the horse behind your leg or too far forward or anything. I find it really helps with the quality of the canter and the rideability.
Oh, yeah, that's really great because I didn't know what your training tip was going to be, but as we had discussed last episode, I think it was, we were talking about poles and how important those are as a step, a day, or a session in your training because it's not all the jumping. You can get a lot done. Wouldn't you say you can really work that rideability and work the position work over poles with less wear and tear?
Something you can do every day, yeah. Something you can do every day. And then I teach a lot of, I'm starting to teach a lot more eventers as it's turning out, and it's surprising how difficult some of the people find this exercise too. A lot of the horses are fine, but it's just a good check to make sure that you actually have the horse coming through from behind and lighten your hand because it simply doesn't work another way. So.
Interesting. Yeah, because do you find like your riders, maybe not the horses necessarily, but the riders sort of evaluate the pole and go through the same
and a lot of
behaviors?
Correct. And a lot of riders just go and they take whatever first distance they see, where this exercise really makes you decide what you want and create what you want before you get there. I start with just having them go on a little bit of a diagonal just to do the bounce poles and then add one of the lines at a time. But it really is something that I figured out that improves everyone and gets the horses actually going straight because you have 5 in a row, which is not something they normally practice over. Like I said, they normally just practice over 2 poles.
Okay, so you would start for if you set up that exercise in your arena, and then you've done your flat work. So when you're coming to it the very first time, you would kind of roll back and do the 3 bounce rails.
Yeah, just the 3 bounce rails, a little angle once off of each lead, and then start coming in on the straight line, do a 4 to the bounces, and then probably try a 4 the first time. Most of them do 3.5 on the way out to the second line. And do that back and forth till it gets correct, and then do 4 bounces, and then 3, turn around and do that back and forth a couple times. And then the most advanced and most difficult, obviously, is the 3 bounces to a 4. I found that the 3 bounce 3 is actually also difficult as well because the stride is so big, and then they have to collect and then make it big again. But for the rider problem, the 3 bounce 4 is actually seems to be the most productive.
Yeah, that's really interesting. Yeah, that's a great exercise because I'm imagining riding it myself, that coming out of those bounces and trying to get that 4, I would probably just pull on the reins without my leg and trot.
Right.
Let me see how I would
see a lot of 3.5s until they get it right. But the 45 feet is really the key distance I found for that exercise as well, and not just setting it on a direct 3 or a direct 4. So like a little bit of a 3.5 seems to work the best for the purpose of the exercise.
That's a really good one. So now would you would classify that, obviously that's a pole work exercise, it's a flat work exercise. Would you do that beginning of the week, or would you do that even at the horse show? Before showing?
I have it set up all the time, and I find like, okay, for instance, the last week we were at Saugerties 3 weeks. It was a great thing to do on Tuesdays when, you don't really want to jump your horse because you just showed all weekend, but it still gets them thinking they're fresh from having Monday off. It still gets them thinking about the jumping with the flat work in it combined.
Nice.
And like I said, when I have people ship in for lessons, we kind of start with that just to see where they're at and how their eye works and their lesson, their rideability with their horses.
Do you find that that's a good exercise even for like a novice rider to come in?
Oh,
they
anybody
can handle
can do
that.
it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, anybody can do it. The novice riders, I tend to just ask them to do the 4 bounce 4. It's usually hard enough to just steer over 5 poles in a row and keep it together.
Yeah.
But any horse can do it, and even they can do it at the trot too.
Okay, yeah, you could get the feel. Now, I love the bounces. I'm so glad that you brought that up. And then with the pole work, it just adds a very accessible way to get started with those because for those of you that don't know exactly the footage, the 9-foot qualifies it as a bounce there. You've got 3. It's people do use them. They use them with poles and up in the jumps, but it stimulates that sort of rocking horse motion that moves your angles as the rider, wouldn't you say? Like stimulates like a jumping position, what your ready position needs to be. And wherever you fall astray in those bounces is kind of where you'll go astray on course as well. It exposes your, inklings as a rider.
Exactly. If you do not have the horse where it should be, with, up in front of your leg and kind of waiting to go forward and waiting to slow down, it really doesn't work. They really have to have their hind end underneath them to do it correctly.
Yeah, which then is so nice. I love how you have those poles there, which then determines your rhythm because jumping and all of it, it's all about rhythm and balance. And that exercise, it forces that. I love it. I've never done that before.
Okay.
I'm going to do it, Amanda, on my mom's horse. I'm going to pull my mom's horse over your fall exercise. Yes. We'll let you know how it goes.
Okay.
That's awesome. Well, thank you so much for joining us. You guys check it out. Amanda Flint, super bad. She's killing it out there.
Well, there you go. You can listen to all of your favorite Horse Radio Network shows with you wherever you go by downloading the free Horse Radio Network app for iPhone or Android. Just go to the App Store and search Horse Radio Network. Do it today. It's quick, it's free, it's easy. This podcast was made possible through the generous support of EquestrianCollections.com and listeners like you. This is Coach Jen, and I'll be back again soon with another tip. So until then, go ride your horse. The Horse Radio Network and the Horse Radio Network hosts are not responsible for statements of guests or their opinions. Use your own judgment when listening to the tips provided by the experts on Horse Tip Daily.